Greetings, brethren, House Donkey here, and this is going to be a slightly different video. No miniatures this time. This is about my trusty hobby journal that I usually plan out my projects with. Because I do get a certain amount of enjoyment out of, I want to say, visualizing and planning out the purchases and then what I have to do and all this sort of stuff. So the planning process gives me a little bit of enjoyment as well. So I'm sitting here with my drink because I originally wanted to make this video tomorrow, but I just finished the calculations and the math. So and it was just too funny for me, so I needed to make this video right away. So this is my journal. I write down projects that I might want to do. This was a sort of a Kings of War project that I had in mind, of some kind of mercenary company. There's lots of other stuff. This was a Punic Wars thing that I ended up doing in a different journal. I have several of these. Some more Kings of War stuff. And then this is what I mean by visualizing. I like to visualize like how many figures are going to be on the bases that I'm going to make. This is for my Oldhammer High Elves. You can see this is the stuff I already have. And it just helps me to sort of see what are the units going to look like, what do I need more of. Like in this case, I'm going to need more spearmen, and I'm still missing some shields. And this just helps me, right? And this stuff. This is, for example, how I'm going to base my colonellas for the Italian wars. And also this is some Oathmark homebrew that I've been writing that I still need to type up. I like to write by hand, so there's a lot of stuff. Lots of empty pages, and now we're going to come to the glorious epic battle Civil War project, which is of course the current hotness. And I have been thinking about this, right? So I'm going to keep my starter box because, as I said before, I don't have any other collection for ACW, so it just kind of makes sense to do it at this scale now because I have most of the infantry that I need. And I sort of figured out how I'm going to do my project. So this is going to be the Union Army. And as you can see, I'm going to run my regiments on 3 bases. So unlike the box that comes with 5 bases per regiment, I'm only going to use 3. Which does mean I'm going to need extra commands, because after 12, there's 12 regiments in the box, each with 5 bases, but since I'm only using 2, I can reuse the other bases for several more units, but then I need extra commands, and that's what's missing. All the green stuff, the green marked units, that's what's in the starter box. And I'm going to end up with 4 brigades of infantry with each a gun battery in support, 3 regiments, and a command stand. And then have also 4 regiments. In this case, the gun battery is with this, but it doesn't really matter. This is just to visualize. How I'm actually going to build it for games is depending on the order of battle and such. It's just to visualize it for me and make it make sense in a black powder sense, right? So, and then I'm going to have 4 units of skirmishers. There could be more, but I'm happy with just 4. And then I want 2 cavalry regiments, both mounted and dismounted, with horse holders. And these right here are 2 Zouave regiments in the Union Army. There's a little bit of a handy guide at the bottom to remind me later what each of these symbols mean. So we have the strip infantry that requires an extra command through other purchases, Zouave infantry, and so on and so forth, right? And the little squares with the sort of, well, stick gun, I guess, the cannons. So the plan is to not add too much to each army, but just add enough to make it interesting, right? So that's why I want 4 extra units of skirmishers. I think that's fine. Realistically speaking, you would probably need 1 for every brigade, but for my purposes and because I'm not, I don't really want to do buy Order of Battle. I don't want to spend too much money on this. So for me, 4 units of skirmishers is fine. In most cases, I think that's going to serve me well. I want 2 units of 2 regiments of Zouaves for the Union army, and I do want at least 2 regiments of cavalry. I don't want too much more than that because I don't like having to paint the same unit twice, basically. So I don't really enjoy stuff like this where I need, you know, a mounted unit and then I need the same unit dismounted. And it's, you know, I can't play both of them because they are basically the same units. I'm not a big fan of that. And I'm also going to be very cheap on the horse holders and only make 2 bases for one regiment. So there's going to be less horses in the horse holder unit, but I really don't care because these are just markers in the end. They don't do anything. If they get captured, they go away, and they are just really there so you know where these guys have to walk to become mounted again, right? So in the end, this could be a paper token, but you know, I do like having it as miniatures, but I just don't want to spend that much money on them. Right, same goes for the Confederate side, of course. Once again, most of these units come in the starter set, which is excellent. The only difference on this side is that I have 1 unit of Zouaves instead of 2. It's going to be the Louisiana Tigers, and I'm sure it would be fine to have a 2nd unit of Zouaves, but you'll see later with the purchases, this is just kind of how it works out, and I'm happy with just having 3 units of Zouaves. Otherwise, the same stuff, 2 units of cavalry, both mounted and dismounted versions. I'm going to need extra command stuff as well for these units here because they don't have enough command strips in the box, and 4 units of skirmishers, 4 regiments of skirmishers, and yeah, the no extra cannons. So for both, I'm just going to use the cannons that come in the starter set for the Civil War. Right, now to my interesting little napkin math. So what I did is I calculated how many figures you actually get in the starter box and how much that would cost from other companies. For this, I just used Callistra. Obviously, I could have also used Pendragon as an example, but it doesn't really change that much if you use a different company. It sort of comes out to the same value, right? So what we have is, in the box, we have, well, for what I'm using, I should say. Obviously, there's 1,200 from each infantry, but I'm not using all of them. A lot of them are just going to be extras that I put on bases here and there. So we're just going to go with the straight up 1,070 Union infantry, which is all of these infantry that I'm using, right? And then there's 24 guns in total, 12 for both sides, and then 14 total command bases. Because I'm not going to use all, 12, or sometimes I might double up. Obviously, I'm actually going to get some proper command figures as well, so that they don't all look the same. But if you bought 2,140 infantry figures from Callistra, that would be something like 66 packs, which would come out to 384 pounds, right? This includes guns and command, which are surprisingly cheap if you were to get these from Callistra. For both sides, guns and commands total up to about 48 pounds. So most of the money is definitely in the infantry. Now, I did also calculate that realistically speaking, it's really only 288 pounds, because if I were to make this project with just Callistra, I obviously wouldn't have 20 figures per base. That's crazy, and that really only fits on a 60 mil frontage base, because because they're so tightly stuck together. And if you have single figures, they're not going to be that tightly stuck together. So I calculated the 288 pounds is if there were 14 figures to a base, right? So that would make the unit 42 figures instead of 60. I think that's pretty reasonable. I think you could get that many Callistra figures on a base. They would look, in a nice and tight formation. And yeah, so that only comes out to 288 pounds. So if you say that the non-pre-order value of the starter pack is about 100 pounds, you're saving 188 pounds even in the realistic world, right? If you want to go super crazy and actually, you know, buy 2,000 infantry figures, yeah, you're saving a lot, but let's be honest, you're not gonna assemble them in this way. That's just not gonna happen. You're gonna have to have wider units. So that's definitely great savings, right? You pay £100, and it's, you know, from other companies in metal it would be 288. It's pretty good. Oh, by the way, this also includes the Callistra, the thingy that they have, where basically if you buy 6 packs, you only pay for 5. So that's already included here. All right. So now the stuff that I want to add to the army comes down to a bunch of bits and pieces to make the command stands nicer. We need 4 units of Union skirmishers, 4 units of Confederate skirmishers, 2 Union Zouave infantry units, 1 Confederate Zouave infantry unit, 7 additional Union infantry regiment command strips, because the back rank we have a strip, but we need some extra figures for the front. And we need 7 separate commands, basically, and 8 for the Confederates. No, actually, I think it's the other way around. I think I screwed this up. It doesn't matter. Doesn't really change that much. We also need 2 mounted Union cavalry, 2 dismounted Union cavalry, 2 units of horse holders for the Union, and the same for the Confederates. Now, I calculated that out for Callistra, and so what we're going to need for Callistra is I'm going to get 2 packs of Union greatcoats firing. The regular Union infantry firing has backpacks, and I kind of want to keep them all looking similar, and for skirmishers it kind of doesn't make any sense that they would be running around with backpacks, because they're supposed to be the light infantry. So since my marching regular infantry, you know, ranked up, doesn't run around with backpacks, I don't see why the skirmishers should have them. So I'm gonna get the Unions in greatcoats. That might also not make a lot of sense that they're the only ones running around in greatcoats, but whatever. My Union skirmishers are gonna have greatcoats. Then we have 2 Confederate infantry loading and firing. They will be the Confederate skirmishers. 2 packs of Union command and 2 packs of Confederate command. I was trying to get that down to 1 each, and you'll see at the end that would have made a very nice round number, but oh well. I kind of need the extra commands, especially for the Union. There's not enough ensigns in there to have enough flags, so I just kind of need that. Whatever, I'm happy with that. All right, then we need 2 packs of Union cavalry and 2 packs of Confederate cavalry. The good thing about Callistra is their packs of cavalry come actually with 16 figures. 16 cavalry figures for £6. I think that's great value. And my units are going to be 5 cavalry per base. I'm going to do 3 bases as well, 60mm frontage. So I need 15. So I'm going to have 2 left over that I can also use for command and various other stuff. And that sorts me. That's my 2 units right there for £12, which is great. 2 Confederate cavalry units, of course, and then 1 Union cavalry dismounted. Now that's 32 figures, and I'm gonna have to make that work on 6 bases, because that's gonna stand in for both the cavalry units. So they're gonna be kind of thin, I guess. But since each cavalry unit only has 15. I think it's fine that each dismounted cavalry unit has only 15. I think that's okay. And then 1 horse holders unit, which will make very, very small horse holder stands. There'll probably only be, I think there's also 16 horses in each one. So each unit will technically only have 8 horses waiting, but as I said, it's just a token. I really don't care. As long as it's represented on the battlefield, I'm happy with that. It doesn't have to be the same number. And then the same for the Confederates. So 1 dismounted cavalry, 1 horse holders, and then 4 packs of advancing Zouaves, with no backpack. And they're just going to be for both sides. Sadly, Callistra does not have different kinds of Zouaves, so there's no straw hat Zouaves, or they only have the ones with fez, basically. and not the best, but it'll work. I'll make one, and it needs to be 4 packs because, as I said, my infantry units are actually 42 man. It might be a few less, but it's not going to be 32 per unit. So 1 pack isn't going to be enough for 1 unit. So I need a 4th pack to fill out the other 3 units. And that's it. And that's 20 packs at £6 each. And as I said, every 6 packs that you buy, you get 1 free. So it's actually a total of 17 packs that I have to that I have to pay. As I said, I would love to only have 1 command each, because that would get me down to 15 that I'm actually paying, which is perfect because that's £90, and so it's £102. Which I personally think is incredible value to get everything else I need for £102 with what I paid for the starter set, which was 70 something euros, I want to say. It wasn't much more than that. I did use a code on it and everything to drop the price further. So, for me, total bargain, and I'm going to pay under £200, like even under 200 euros for the whole lot. Obviously, shipping is going to come into it with Callistra, so I don't know how much in shipping and customs I'm going to be paying. I'm guessing probably around 30-40 euros in total, which sucks. But you'll see it's actually still pretty good, because let's look at the shopping list I would have to get from Warlord Games. So I would need 1 box of Zouaves, because to make 3 Zouave regiments, I couldn't use just 2. And it doesn't matter because the box only comes with, it's a box of Zouaves that has 3 regiments of 5 stands each. There would be a lot of them that I wouldn't need. I could probably make an extra Zouave regiment out of them, but I won't need that, so I really don't care. Then I need 2 boxes of skirmishers, because the skirmisher box is really, really small, and even if I make small units, I'm gonna need 2 skirmisher boxes, one for the Union, one for the Confederates, and I might actually need more. The skirmisher units that the skirmisher boxes are very small. They're also cheaper. They only cost £25 each. Well, cheaper. But yeah, it's not gonna work for what I want with just 1. So I'm gonna definitely need 2, and I might need more. But I'm gonna go with 2 now. Then I need 2 cavalry boxes and 2 dismounted cavalry boxes, and that is completely what just breaks this apart, because each of those boxes is £40. And then lastly, I would need 3 extra command strip packs, which they're now selling, and they're £12 each. So as you can see, that's 5 times £40, 2 times £25, and 3 times £12, which comes out to £286, which is almost 3 times as much as it is from Callistra. And funnily enough, £184 is pretty much also what I showed you on the other side, what you're realistically saving by buying the starter set from Warlord and not from Callistra. So in the end, for my project, if I were to buy the stuff from Warlord, it would literally come out to just even Stevens with buying everything in metal from Callistra, which to me is just insane. And Leon T66 made a video about it and said that the starter set is amazing, and the additional stuff, the additional waves, are incredibly overpriced, and they dropped the ball with that. And I could not agree more. I think for me, this little bit of napkin math really shows that, because, like, as you saw, the basic value of the starter set is actually really good, right? Like, if you were to get all of that stuff, even realistically speaking, in smaller units, even if you just wanted to have, 32 per unit, which would make really, really flimsy units, that would probably still be around £220. So you're still saving half your money by buying the starter set, and that's awesome. But if you were to then buy stuff from Warlord for the expansions, those savings are just immediately completely done in with just these ridiculous prices for their extra boxes. I mean, I just don't understand why these boxes are so expensive. Like, for me, the one that absolutely kills these purchases, like, I wouldn't even mind buying the Zouaves necessarily, because I think you know, you get 3 units. I don't know if they're also 10 per strip. So if they would also be, what, 500? Is that? No. It's 15 times 20, so it's like 300. Yeah, it's 300 figures, right? Yeah, I think so. It's too late for that to do in me head. Let's say it's 300 figures. That's still okay, I think, for £40. I find that acceptable. But the problem really comes with the skirmishers, the cavalry, and the dismounted cavalry. That stuff is just too expensive. I mean, the cavalry box, right? It comes with 3 cavalry regiments. Oh, and that's the other thing. Of course, I would have a lot of cavalry left over. I guess I could make extra cavalry regiments. But then there's not enough stuff in the dismounted cavalry box to have dismounted cavalry for them. I would need another dismounted cavalry box if I wanted to fill that up. So that's just silly as well. But it comes with 3 regiments in the cavalry box, and I want to say it's 4 per stand. So that's 16 per regiment, which would be 3 cavalry packs from Callistra. And 3 cavalry packs from Callistra cost £18. £18 instead of 40. That's less than half. You know, and if you buy 2 cavalry boxes or 6 cavalry packs from Callistra, it's even cheaper because you get one of the packs for free from Callistra. So this is what completely just breaks the camel's back in this case. You know, all the other stuff I can live with. I do think the extra command strips are a little expensive. 5 command strips for £12 is a lot. You know, even I would need 3 extra packs with my project here. And if you wanted to do more infantry, then, you know, obviously you'd need even more. Yeah, I don't know. These extras, like, forget that it's resin. I think that's just like a personal preference thing. But for me, this stuff here and the absurd price that you end up with, it's just not worth it. It makes this extra stuff just terrible. And if somebody from Warlord happens to watch this, please don't take this to mean that your starter set is too cheap, okay? Now, I would personally pay more for your starter set if these were cheaper, okay? I would be fine paying £130, £150 even for the starter set because it is such great value, even then. If these were, like, say the skirmisher box were I don't know, £15 instead of 25, and the cavalry box was £20 or 25 at most, but even 25 is already too much, right? £20 for a cavalry box, £20 for the dismounted cavalry, and have the starter box at 150. I would be happy with that, and I would actually consider buying these. But the way it is, there's no way ever I would buy these. It's just ridiculous. I'm not made of money, so I have to make, you know, clever decisions with it, and this for £200 gets me everything I need to play great ACW games. Because as you saw, it gives me seven brigades of infantry, a bunch of cavalry to add in, enough guns, enough skirmishers. It's all I need, right? And I hope that if this is successful, which I'm sure the starter box will be successful because everybody can see what crazy savings this is, right? But I think that the additional stuff might not be. And I really hope that they don't take the false lesson out of this to say, oh, well, this was not a successful range, there's no need to make any more. No, the lesson you should take out of this is that this is the stuff, these starter boxes are the stuff that's awesome and that everybody wants. And this is just wrong. Okay, so if you were to expand into another setting, let's say Napoleonics or Punic Wars, right? Make a starter set, maybe even make different figures for both sides, or make different figures for both sides, and then have faction starter packs if you want to have that, and then if you want to have all the other figures be in resin and not in plastic, then just have the prices be a little bit more realistic. Because because here's the other thing, right? This is also the false lesson for Warlord to take from this, because this game happens to be perfectly well, this scale happens to be perfectly combinable with Callistra. So don't take this as an excuse to be like, oh, well, we have to have an even more special scale that doesn't match with anything at all, because then people have to buy from us. That's not the right thing either, because I can tell you right now, if this was a strange scale that had absolutely nothing else fitting it, I would just not get the starter box at all and would just go with a different scale altogether, because I would still feel ripped off. And that feeling of being ripped off is not going to go away just because there's no alternatives. That kind of makes it worse. I bought the starter set when I knew that Callistra would fit, so even if shenanigans like these were to happen, I would still have the option to just go with this instead, which is what I'm going to do now. Right? So if this weren't there, if this option weren't there, I wouldn't go for this option. This option is insane. Like, this isn't even that much stuff, and it costs me 3 times what I paid for the starter box. But like, look at this. This is what I get in the starter box, and these few things are what I would buy for 3 times the amount this cost? No! Why would I do that? That's so silly. So yeah, this is such a double-edged sword, because I really like the idea of this epic battle scale. It's such a good scale, such a good idea to have the figures on the strips that, you know, that makes them possible to do in plastic, and it's fantastic to play with. But the extra wave stuff it's just kind of ruined it a little bit. And it's fine in this case because Callistra is there, and I'm sure they're gonna make big bank out of this, so I hope you bought stocks in Callistra, Warlord, but yeah, I don't know. I'm a little disappointed because, you know, I don't hate Warlord games. I want them to do well, but I want them to do good stuff, and not I don't want to praise them for stuff that's obviously dumb. And this is kind of obviously dumb. You know, it's this is the kind of shit Games Workshop did in the early 21st century, you know, which is what made me leave Games Workshop and never buy their stuff not buy their stuff for over a decade. So don't do this, Warlord. Please don't go down this route. And if, you know, we definitely want you to do this epic scale stuff for another conflict. Just take lessons from this and do it right next time and make a product where the whole range is worth my money. And not just the starter set. Because I'm not gonna, you know, you're not gonna trick me into buying, you know, your overpriced other figures by giving me good value on the starter set. So this way you got, what, 80 something euros out of me? And I'm definitely not gonna buy any of the other stuff. And if you had made those prices reasonable, you would have gotten more money out of me. Is that really worth it? For what, the few people that you might trick into spending all that money? I don't think most of your customers are, you know, that gullible. So, well, really long video, long rant. Hope someone found it entertaining. But this is just something I thought was really interesting after I did the napkin math, and yeah. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Sorry for the video being so super long again. And yeah, let me know let Warlord know in the comments what you would like them to do with the epic range. All right, thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.